The space race is back. Recently, the US government announced that they would fast-track the development of a lunar nuclear reactor to be completed by 2030. This was all in response to China and Russia teaming up to create their own lunar nuclear reactor to be placed on the moon by 2035. So basically, the US wanted to beat them there. But another key reason that the US wants to achieve this before China and Russia is because of the Outer Space Treaty. They basically found a loophole in the Outer Space Treaty where if you put some kind of dangerous device or even delicate device on the moon, you can claim a keep-out zone where other countries cannot get close to this device. So this is basically a roundabout way to claim territory of the moon and start basically taking over and creating a moon base. And this goes kind of directly against the idea of the treaty in the first place, where no country can claim territory on the moon, but since this legal loophole kind of works, countries are starting to do it. Even though they're planning to get this done by 2030, there are still a lot of blockers in place. The main one being is cooling the nuclear reactor in a vacuum, which is a very unsolved problem at the moment. Another downside is that this is cutting funding for other nuclear research, such as nuclear thermal or nuclear electric propulsion. These are key technologies that we've been using for ion engines. The entire idea of putting a nuclear reactor on the moon is because of the lunar nights being 2 weeks long. So for the moon base to be functional 24/7, they would still need to have power during these 2-week-long nights. And a nuclear fission reactor is a perfect solution for this. And during the days, they can continue to use solar power. I feel like this would open up a lot of opportunity for low gravity research, like growing food or seeing if life can survive in low gravity. I've also seen a lot of backlash for this program being around people would rather have free healthcare rather than funding this program. And although this idea makes sense at the surface, looking at the scopes of the problem, this program is set to cost around $350 million per year over the next 5 years, whereas free healthcare would cost around $3.2 trillion. So these two problems are completely out of scope of each other. I'd also argue that every time the government puts massive funding towards scientific research, it usually pays back to the taxpayers eventually. For example, insulation and rechargeable batteries were developed during the Apollo era. Even GPS was a navigation for the DoD secretly funded by the Air Force. That's not even mentioning DARPA's ARPANET, which is the foundation of the modern day internet. And I think at minimum, this research will be worth it in the end, especially if we're trying to get to Mars eventually. And if we really want to get to Mars eventually, this is a necessary step humanity has to take. We have to make that first leap going back to the moon. It's also going to be interesting to me if at any point they're actually going to start to mine the moon. It'll definitely have a huge impact on the economy depending on what materials are on the moon. The fact that the US was waiting for Russia and China to come up with this plan to finally get their stuff together is actually crazy to me. Like, why did they need pressure from competitors to push the edge of scientific innovation? It's almost like having no enemies makes you inert. Overall, this news got me super hyped about space again. That's all I got. Like and subscribe for more, and I'm out.